Okay, Maggie, this video is for you. This is Yogurt 101. So these are the things you're going to need, and I'm sure I'll remember more along the way. But you're going to need some organic milk. The yogourmet starter is the one I use. This is the one you want. There's a couple different kinds, but this is the one that the SCD diet and the GAPS book recommends. I like to use some honey, and this is the best honey ever. You're going to need some glass bowls, a big bowl full of ice for the ice bath. I buy lots of these canning jars, and for yogurt I use the 1 quart wide mouth one. These are really inexpensive, and you can get them at most grocery stores. And you're going to need a couple. I like to use the small ones to hold the whey when we're done. And you're going to need at least 2 quart size pan, like a large saucepan is good, and a thermometer that has a clip, or like a candy thermometer that will set up in the side of the pot so you can get the temperature. And also a cheese making bag. You don't have to have this, but if you like a nice thick rich yogurt and you want to use the whey for other beverages, then this is a really good idea. So that's what we need. Oh, and a blender. I like to use a blender. You don't have to. So I'm going to make a mock-up of the yogurt. So pretend that this water is milk, and what you're going to do is we're going to do 2 quarts at a time. So do 2 quarts of milk, and what you're going to want to do is heat this on a low to medium heat and get the milk up to 180 degrees. And you want to kind of get it there slowly, so if you can put it in there and put it on a low temperature and get it up to that 180 degrees and stir it a couple times in between. You never want it to bubble, you don't want it to scald, and you don't want it to boil. You just want it to, the bubbles will kind of go around the rim and it'll get right up to 180 degrees. And then right when it gets to 180 degrees, sometimes there'll be a little film on top, you can scrape it off and toss it. You want to pour that milk, or you don't have to pour it out. You can put it right into an ice bath and get that temperature to come down to between 108 and 110. And all of these directions are on the back of the yogourmet starters. It says bring milk up to 180 degrees, bring it down to 108 to 112. And when it gets down to about 100, I like to take it off when it's 112 or so. Pour just a little bit of that milk into a little glass bowl, like that. We're still pretending this is milk. And empty your starter packet into that. And I guess you would use 2 starter packets if you're doing 2 quarts. So if you're doing 2 quarts of yogurt, then empty 2 starter packets in there and dissolve it as good as you can get. It takes a while of just kind of really whipping it around with a fork. Get it to really, really dissolve. Otherwise, you're going to have chunky, funky yogurt. So just get it to really dissolve. And then once that's dissolved, you pour that into the rest of the milk and stir it really, really well. You want it to be distributed really well. So now that that's the good temperature, this yogurt is pretty much ready to go. So you're going to take 2 of your glass containers, and these are the 1 quart sizes, and you're going to pour your milk with your starter in there. And that pretty much is going to be ready to go. So if you can find the plastic lids that go on these, they're a lot better than these tin ones. Put your lid on there and put this anywhere that it can just kind of stay warm for 24 hours. Just mark the time on the top if you want to. And I usually wrap it up with a like a microfiber towel and stick it into one of those small coolers. And 24 hours, take it out. And depending on how thick you like your yogurt, say it's been 24 hours and you have your yogurt and you open it up, and it's going to be kind of thick and gelled just like the yogurt at the stores. But I like it really thick, and I also like to be able to reserve the whey. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that yogurt and you're going to take a cheese making bag. And this is how I do it at home. I hang the cheese making bag on a knob, and I dump all the yogurt in there, and then I take the other little loop and hang it around the knob, and I take a glass bowl and you do what's called dripping. So what's going to happen is the whey is going to drip out from the yogurt, which is kind of like the yellow watery stuff that that builds on the top of the yogurt when you buy it. And it's going to drip out into the bottom, and that whey is full of really good probiotics. And when you're done, I do it for about a couple hours. The longer you do it, the thicker your yogurt's going to be. So if you like really thick yogurt, you can do it for 8 hours, and it's actually going to be full of probiotics because it still produces that good bacteria while it drips. So when you're done, you kind of open it up, and it's going to be thick and clumpy in there. And I empty all that yogurt into the blender with a tablespoon or two of this yummy honey. And I blend it and whip it up really good in the blender. And then I pour it into my jars, back into my jars. And you're going to have this really thick, creamy, semi-sweet yogurt, depending on how sweet you like. But I mean, it's really nice and thick. So it's going to be high in protein and high in good healing fats because we're using whole milk. You don't want to be afraid of fats when you're healing the gut because they're really, really good for healing the gut. So you have that nice thick yogurt. And then left over, you're going to have a bowl of this kind of yellowy clear liquid called whey. And put it in a glass jar and throw it in the fridge because you can use it for tons of different things. It's really healing to the gut, but I like to use it to make another drink called kvass that is really, really yummy and full of probiotics. And I'll make a video on that, but this is just a jar full of fruit and clean water. And it has a half a cup or a whole cup of whey in it. And you just put the fruit in the jar with the water and the whey, and you let it sit out for a couple of days, and it ferments. And it makes an awesome kind of fizzy, fruity beverage that's just full of good probiotics. So always save your whey and keep it clean. So right when you're done, pour it into a glass jar, put it into the fridge. It stops fermenting, and it's ready to be used for whatever you want to use it for. You can add it to beverages in the morning just for your probiotics, but it's awesome. So this is my kvass that I started 2 days ago. I like to let it brew for 3 days, but I'll do a video on that. So when you're done, you have that nice thick yogurt, put it in the fridge. It'll be good for about a week or so. It won't last that long, but if you do 2 quarts, you're probably going to end up with 1.5 quarts because after you strain it, all the whey, all that liquid will be gone and you'll have just thicker yogurt. So it kind of just depends. But I usually use raw milk from my co-op, but you can use just regular organic milk. This is from New Seasons, and it'd be just fine. If you can find good raw milk somewhere, it's way better because it has all the enzymes and the natural bacteria that are in the milk, and it hasn't been pasteurized, so it's much better for you. But I hope that helps, and that's just a quick video on how to make yogurt. Bye.